Well, good afternoon from Hong Kong. Today is the 5th of February. All right, now I'm going to make a video here about some stuff that I'm doing. I had made a video earlier about, I have a TV. It's a 24-inch LED TV. And it takes AC in, but it converts it, and everything on the inside of the TV is 12 volt. And the same with my Apple TV first generation. That's AC in, but that runs off of 5 volt. So what I've got is I've just decided I'm going to change everything. I'm going to go from DC to DC. I'm going to try to avoid any AC. I'm going to eliminate AC on the boat. Like this one here, this is my hardest project right now. This is the, I don't know what generation it is, but it's the Apple time capsule. And, you know, it's a router and whatever backup. Well, on this one, this has, on the power supply, it has the AC in, but the output, it has a dual DC output. One DC output is 12 volt and the other one is 5.1 volt output. So I need to, again, I'm taking it apart. I've desoldered all the connectors. But what I've got here is I've got this unit here is 12 volt that mainly comes in. And then this, because this goes to the hard drive. And then this one is 5 volt and it goes down to the motherboard. But there's also on this, to the hard drive, this SATA hard drive, there's also a 5 volt. But there's a 5 volt positive that goes in on the connector, but it appears that the ground, so 5 volt in, and I'm using a 12 volt ground. So I'm gonna have to do some more research on that. That's kind of has me curious. But now what I've got is 24 volt is going to come in to this unit, and I'm going to have 2 bucking converters. So I'm going to go from 24 volt, 12 or 24 volt, because that's the bucking converters accept 9 volt to 35 volt, and then you adjust it to whatever the output you want, what the output is. So I'm going to have 2 of those. I'll put 2 of these inside here and put that in. So the DC will come in, and then it'll go out to these. So this one I've got to figure out what amp. So I've looked on this. I know the 12 volt. The 12 volt is only 1 volt, and the 5 volt is 4.3 amps. So 1 amp on the 12 volt side and 4.3 amp on that. So I've got to get the correct bucking converters, DC to DC converters on that. Here I've got the Apple TV 3rd generation, again, because this can play the 1080p and that. Plus it does more because the Apple TV 1st generation, they don't upgrade the software anymore. So would have used whatever hack or whatever got into it so I can plug in a hard drive to it, etc. But anyway, so now this one is only like 3.3 volts. So I've taken out the power supply, and again, I'm going to put in another bucking converter, 9 to 35 volt input. See, what I've done is, on the back where the male is, it's the male AC plug. What I've done is I've just taken my soldering iron. I use the butane cordless stuff here. But anyway, I just put my soldering iron when it was hot, and it just heated up that little male prong, and it just melted straight out. So what'll happen is the wires will come out here. It'll be, nice and clean. And so I've got that for the Apple TV 2, and now I've got the Airport Express. The Airport Express, I've already got this soldered on, and that I don't remember what the voltage is. I've got it written down. But anyway, this is going to be used. I'm going to run a Cat 5 up to the top deck, put this in a watertight little locker. And this is going to extend my Wi-Fi network on the whole boat. So when we go out to see anybody wants to use their phone, AirPlay and stuff, we can play it on the radio. So now even for all of this, because I have the TV right now is on 12 volts, so I've got a bucking converter. That's a 30 amp from 24 volt down to 12 volt, and so that the 12 volt is all good. So what I've done is, where'd I put it? I've made my own little power strip, if you will, right here. Now I went to the factory. Again, I buy everything from the factories around here in Hong Kong. So I went to them. Now these are the large, you see them on the back of your speakers, and I asked them if I could use it for DC, and they said, oh, certainly. I asked them what would be the amperage rating for this before it would even show any heat. Now they said at 12 volt, they said probably around 15 amps it'll start to heat up. You know, the metal on the inside would probably feel some heat. So, but I'm only going to be putting in at 12 volt, I'm only going to be putting in like 1 to 3 amps, you know, on each one. And that's, so 24 volt comes in, and then here's your 24 volt. But it'll go out to each device here, and so inside the device, this device will actually have the bucking converter that takes the 24 volt and puts it to whatever voltage it needs to be on the inside of each device. Like one is 3.3, another one is 5 point, and I've got 12 volt and 5.1 volt. So I've got this should be enough. I can kill it. And on the inside of this, I've got 4 of the barrel fuses. So if I've got security, again, I'm all about fusing and electrical safety. So if there's no power out to any of these, it's because I blew an internal fuse. I suppose I can kind of show you. It's not rocket science, but again, you know, any of this stuff, I'm totally pro, you know, safety. Electricity has to be fused. I'm all about safety, and so if you look on the inside here, I've got the 4 barrel fuses. So power comes into a bus, you know, it's from the switch. And I'm almost kind of thinking when I go to buy these bucking converters tomorrow, I'm actually thinking about maybe getting 4 more switches so I can, because like the Apple TV doesn't have a power switch. Well, none of these things have a power switch, and so if I would want to turn one off or on while leaving the others on, I should just having more options instead of just having the one power strip. Maybe I'll add in 4 more so I can turn these on and off independently. But so that's what's going on with that, because again, with DC, I don't want from DC to an inverter, changing it to AC, comes to these devices AC, then changing it back to DC. Stupid. So, but now I've got another thing, is I've got a 2009 Mac Mini is what I use for my computer here. And the 2009 Mac Minis, they have that big brick. It's a big power supply. It's an external power supply. Well, I've taken it apart, taken it out of the plastic, which was a pain in the ass, and I've desoldered the cable, the main power cable, to it. And so now, I mean, I've tested it out. I've got my black and my red wire, and that's 18.5 volt. So again, my battery bank is at 24 volt. I just need to get a bucking converter that'll take 24 volts and take it down to 18.6, or it's basically 19 volts. But I've got these 2 other wires here, and I've done some research. This little gray wire is called an iSense cable, and there's a quick fix. They said if when I go and I hook this up just to the power, if the unit does not boot up, you need to take like a 3.3k ohm resistor and put it between this cable and the ground. But now I've got this blue cable here, and I've taken and used continuity through all the connectors, you know, the pinouts on this. I've got 6 little pins that are in here, and I get absolutely no continuity that goes between this end and anything on the inside of this cable. So If anybody knows on this, on an older 2009 Mac Mini, if you know what the hell this blue wire's for, let me know. So, okay, well, that's what's going on right now. So I know what parts I need to get and that, and I'm going to go shopping tomorrow, or tomorrow or Tuesday, and I'll get the power supplies that I need for this. I'll clean up my mess tonight, go do some shopping, get the parts, and I will talk to you once I have the other parts and get them soldered in and see how they work. All right, guys, I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Well, good afternoon from Hong Kong. Well, I went and did some shopping. I went and I picked up, I got two different kinds. This is a bucking converter. So it'll take from like 0.89 volts up to 35 volts input. And then on the output, inputs here, and then on the output, there's a small potentiometer here where you will adjust. So from 0.89 volts in up to 35 volts, that comes in, and I can adjust it. So 3 volts, 1 volt, 12 volt, 18.5 volts. But I picked up two different kinds. I've got this one with the large coil. This is 5 amps, and which 120 watts, I think it is. And then I've got another one. This is 3 amps. So again, the 0.89 to 35 volt input, and then whatever your output is. And again, that's adjusted with this little screw. Let's see that little screw on that potentiometer. So I picked up, because they're the capacitors here for the 3 amp and the 5 amp. I went with these different ones. I picked up 5 of this and 5 of these, and that. And again, because the capacitor that's on here, one is taller than the other, and it made a big difference. So let me set this over here, like on the Airport Express. Now again, I was able to use, I've soldered it in. This is the 3 amp. It's got the higher capacitor, but the cover will go on. It fits very nicely. But on the Apple TV 3rd generation here, now this one, even though it takes like less than 1 amp, because the height of this capacitor, I had to use the 5 amp to fit it into this one. So that's in. And I've soldered in on the on my time capsule. I've got 5 amp for the 5 volt, and I've got the 3 amp for the 12 volt. And even I picked up some extra switches. Like I had said, I've got each switch. So I've got a main power on and off, 24 volt coming in, and then I can turn each of these on and off. So again, I've replaced, I've got 2 DC to DC bucking converters. I've replaced the AC to DC, so that's junk. And on this, the AC to DC, again, now DC to DC, and as well on the time capsule. So, to further ado, I've kind of got it set up, and hold on a minute. Let me, first things first, let's plug it in. So what I've got is, now here's my airport, or the time capsule. So if you turn that on, we'll see if the time capsule syncs. I've got the yellow light, and it should extend, should go green once it's connected to the network, to the Wi-Fi, to my other router. Takes a couple minutes. But so far, I mean, that's 24 volt is coming in from my power block. 24 volt goes into this, and then there's no loss. I mean, I've got, well, there's going to be a loss. My calculations, there we go, green light. I am connected, and it's running off a DC. and I can back up my iPhone, we can back up my Mac Mini, do whatever I want. So that's on. Perfect. And then now the Apple TV. The Apple TV, DC to DC. It's working. Got the little light flashing. And hopefully we get a steady light once it's connected. Well, actually, it's not going to, is it? It needs to be connected. Well, there it is. And there we have it. It is connected to the network. Perfect. And then even on this one, flip the switch. Oh, I got the green light. This I still have to set up because this is going to extend. This is going to extend that. So it's brilliant. Now the other thing is now because on this large brick for the Mac Mini, this large brick that I have, and I'm very curious about this blue wire. I did pick up a 3.3k ohm resistor if I want, but what I'm going to do is, because this is 120 watts, this is 120 watts, so if I got 24 volt in and I take it down to 8.6 volts, connect this to this, the maximum that the Mac Mini would use is 110 watts. But interesting enough is this power supply that came with it is only 85 watts. So it's an 85 watt power supply, and yet in the specs it says, oh, the maximum that it would draw would be 110 watts. So anyway, on that, it's not, if I've got 120 watts out of this is more than enough, this bucking converter, to actually power my Mac Mini, which is perfect. So, which I'm very, very happy with. So now that's going to be the next thing I'm going to do. So everything here is working, and it's DC to DC. I still have some stuff to do on the Apple TV. I've got to upgrade the hard drive on it. But other than that, these little monkeys here are going to do the job, and they're great. I picked up 5 of the 5 amp and 5 of the 10 amp, and it came out with the conversion rate to Hong Kong dollars, for 10 of them just under $5 US, which is not too bad, not too shabby to save that. And I save power, and I'm going to be updating my web monitor and I've the power that I use at night for entertainment, that I know I'm going to go from like 60 amps use at night. I know I'm going to drop it down to like 20 to 30 amps consumed in the evening time. And that, so from Alan and May here in Hong Kong, be good, be safe, and always be well. And thing is, if you want to be off grid, it's really simple to do, to just run off your batteries. Eliminate AC to DC, or DC to AC, and then AC back to DC. So it can be done. I am not a rocket scientist, and I'm not an engineer by any means, but the tools are there to use, and switch over, and you just run right off your batteries. No more inverters. Efficiency. It's all about efficiency. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.